This Guy's Garage. Like and subscribe.
Can you say that you were a victim of foreign interference during the previous election?
I would say it played a role in my defeat, and I was actually glad that there was a whistleblower in CSIS, because to a certain extent it confirmed my subjective observation, and also the intelligence that we, the local campaign, have received and reported to CSIS all along, even though that CSIS has never got back to us.
Donc, vous croyez?
So you believe that your opponent had an advantage?
Yes, that he is the beneficiary of the disinformation.
OK. Croyez-vous que ce soit...
Do you believe that it's a conflict of interest that your opponent is here today?
That is a question I think it's better answered by my opponent, who is sitting here in the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'd like to thank all of the witnesses for your attendance and participation in this important study. I'd like to start off by saying hello to Mr. Chui, and have a number of questions for you, sir. So I understand that it wasn't just yourself that was impacted by foreign election interference, but in fact your former colleagues Alice Wong and Bob Soraya. Now, I've done a little bit of research. I understand that all three of those ridings have a very large Chinese-Canadian population. Can you opine as to what you believe to be one of the factors or a number of factors that contributed to the number of traditional conservative Canadians in those ridings that for whatever reason simply did not vote? I understand there was a substantial drop in the percentage of voting, not only in your riding, but Ms. Wong's and Mr. Soraya's. Can you offer some information on that for me, please?
Absolutely. I think there has been a study conducted that shows across Canada, wherever there is a high concentration of Chinese population ridings with that, the number of support that the Conservative in 2021 has received has dropped, bucking the trend of all the other ridings in the neighboring ridings where those ridings are. And I think this is the effect of the disinformation that's been spread. Yes, they target specific candidates such as myself in ridings that I represent or I was running, but at the same time they would also generalize this and use it across Canada in many of the Chinese ridings to indicate that the party itself, the leadership itself, they have taken an anti-Chinese role, and the fact that they've misconstrued that Mr. O'Toole, the Conservative, will ban WeChat. Consider, put yourself in their shoes. If you rely on WeChat for the only lifeline to connect to your family and conduct business in Canada, and if a political party will do that, and that particular party, there's an MP that proposed a foreign registry that would put you and your descendants into jeopardy, would you be voting for that, even though they align very well with your value? So I believe across the country, it actually has hurt many of riding, even though we have won by potentially with a smaller margin.
Okay. I guess it really highlights the importance of social media to Chinese Canadians, particularly the platform of WeChat. Were there other platforms of social media or other ways that they spread the message that you ought not to be considering conservatives in the next election?
It's not just WeChat, it's not just social media, it's multidimensional. It's on the airwave that CRTC is supposed to be regulating. It's on printed media. It's also on websites. These multidimensional disinformation campaigns help to solidify the mistrust on certain particular politicians or political party. And it's very effective, especially during election time.
Was any of these issues prevalent in your election success in 2019? Did you feel the pressures from Beijing?
In 2015, I actually had an opportunity to sit down with the Consul General in Vancouver. I believe she was trying to size me up back then. But in 2019, they have decided that I'm completely beyond hope. So the information that I've got from my Chinese supporter has been that they've told people not to vote for me, but there is no active campaign against me that I can observe.
In 2019, NSICOP, the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, which is made up of parliamentarians of every stripe, studied the whole issue of foreign election interference and made a number of recommendations that would appear that the Liberal government did not follow through on. Our Prime Minister, most recently, in light of all of the information that has been leaking, has indicated that he has to do a better job and follow the recommendations. How does that make you feel, sir, knowing that the Prime Minister, who had this information 4 years ago, essentially ignored all of those recommendations?
Very quick response, please, Mr. Chui, if you don't mind.
Thank you. I try to be as nonpartisan as I can, but frankly, being a targeted person and a particular ethnic race, I feel I'm vulnerable. That my government is not there to protect me when it's needed.
I wanted to speak about Mr. Chui's electoral campaign. You said that there was interference in different WeChat groups. Here's a question for you. When looking at the results of the election, you saw that the Liberal and the NDP vote had greatly increased. Do you not believe also that voters simply wanted to vote for a progressive government? And maybe it was a reflection of the Conservative Party's position on LGBT communities or other political issues. Is it really interference that's the reason of that?
If you look into the election results in 2021, the fact that the number of voters turnout has actually dropped significantly. There is a 3,000 vote less in 2021 versus 2019. In as well, my supporters, the one who voted me in 22 months prior to the 2021 election in 2019, I have 4,400 fewer voters. My opponent, the one who actually took the writing, had increased the support by a mere 1,800 votes. That is a significant discrepancy. In other words, there are many conservative supporters who actually stay at home.
Et le vote du NPD, vous n'êtes pas d'accord aussi?
And what about the NDP vote? You're not in agreement also that the votes of the NDP also increased as well? One minute, please, Mr. Chui. Monsieur Villemur.
On est dans le sujet.
It seems to me that this is Proc's topic. This is not the scope of our committee study. We're looking at interference in general.